Breaking news. The de facto ODM party leader, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, has endorsed for a second term the UDA governor for Nairobi, His Excellency Governor Johnson Sakaja. In this video, we answer two questions. One, is that endorsement enough for Sakaja to get re-elected? And two, what does ODM party leader endorsing a UDA governor mean for the relationship between ODM and UDA moving into 2027? If you're watching for the first time, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss similar videos. Today, while at a prayer event in Bomas, Raila Odinga told the crowd that was there that he had confidence in Sakaja, and he asked these people and he told them that he would prefer to see continuity, to see Sakaja still taking care of the county past 2027. In short, he, for the first time, Raila Odinga, endorsed Johnson Sakaja. Now, you know what this means to the dreams of Babu Owino, the dreams of Tim Wanyonyi, and other people like Sifuna, who perhaps were expecting that ODM would somehow give them a chance and support them for the gubernatorial race in 2027. It seems, unsurprisingly though, that Raila prefers to have Sakaja at the helm. Now, those who have followed politics know that immediately Sakaja was elected governor, he didn't hide his like for Raila Odinga. Remember, before election, Sakaja was pro William Ruto. But immediately after election, Sakaja actually nominated 4 members of Azimio into his cabinet, one of them being a PA of Raila Odinga. At a time when ODM and UDA were not seeing eye to eye, Sakaja risked everything to be hated by UDA and Kenya Kwanza in Nairobi, but he sided with Raila Odinga. It seems that decision is paying off, and Raila Odinga has endorsed Sakaja. You also need to understand why Sakaja made that move. Sakaja's major voting bloc in Nairobi were the Kikuyus, who were in UDA. Now that the people from Mount Kenya are not likely to overwhelmingly support Sakaja the way they did in 2022, Sakaja needed an alternative. And the alternative was the Luo vote in Nairobi. And how do you get the Luo vote, especially in Nairobi, or anywhere for that matter? You have to bring Raila on board. And Sakaja did a very good work bringing Raila on board and becoming very friendly with him. I remember there was a time Sakaja went to Radio Ramogi and he really praised Raila Odinga at a time when it was not very popular among the people in government, Kenya Kwanza to be specific, to praise Raila in that manner. Sakaja was all over praising Raila Odinga. Some people saw that as a betrayal, but Sakaja was being strategic, and somehow he has won this war and now has bagged the endorsement of Raila Odinga. It means that moving forward in Nairobi, ODM might not have a candidate. So, with all this background, let us answer the question. Is that endorsement enough to get Sakaja re-elected? I would say it depends. If the Luos in Nairobi will heed Raila's endorsement and vote for Sakaja, then chances of Sakaja winning re-election are very high. But should the likes of Babu Owino and others and Tim Wanyonyi decide that enough is enough, we are going to go for this race, they might dent whatever Sakaja would have inherited from Raila Odinga and make Sakaja's journey to re-election a little bit difficult, but not impossible. But that is if Sakaja jumps from UDA into ODM as it is being proposed. Because if you watched the entire event, most of the speakers suggested that Sakaja should join ODM officially, move from UDA and join ODM. In fact, this is something that Simbarati once said when Sakaja was in Homa Bay, that you need to move to the party where you feel comfortable. And Sakaja somehow feels very comfortable in ODM moving into 2027. And so if he moves into ODM, chances are that the ODM people are going to, especially the Luos in Nairobi, are going to embrace him and support him come 2027. That is if they still are fully loyal to Raila Odinga. Some people are arguing that the loyalty is waning, considering Raila will not be on the ballot. But I'm of the opinion that Luos are still very loyal to the Odingas, because in Luo land, leadership is always top-bottom. And as of now, there is nobody who has replaced Raila Odinga. So they are likely to still take orders from him and overwhelmingly vote for Sakaja in the city. Overall, I'm saying it doesn't matter whether Sakaja is in UDA or in ODM. If Raila has endorsed him, that is all that matters. Most Luos will vote for Sakaja. Anyway, after all, they even voted for him in the last election when he was in UDA, so it will not be a surprise. Is the endorsement by Raila Odinga enough to get Sakaja re-elected? And I'm telling you, yes, it is enough. Number two, what does it tell you when ODM officially endorses a UDA governor for re-election? Because there are no guarantees that Sakaja will cross the floor and go to ODM. But nonetheless, every leader in ODM was praising him for good leadership and saying how they are willing to endorse him and work with him. Even as of now, Sakaja is still in UDA, but Raila had no problem endorsing him and supporting him for a second term. In my opinion, this is a very serious indicator that ODM and UDA are likely to have a coalition agreement moving into 2027. It doesn't matter whether Raila wins the AUC or he loses. From the look of things, ODM and UDA are likely to form a coalition to work moving into 2027, and maybe one that lasts up to 2032, because I think the argument is if ODM, especially now the Luos and people of Western and Coast support and Kisii support Ruto this second term, then chances are that when Ruto leaves office, he is likely to hand over leadership to somebody from the western part of Kenya, maybe from Luoland, from Kisii, or somebody from Western. Just to beef this point, the same members of ODM who are endorsing Sakaja today are the same people who were the other day endorsing President Ruto. So it seems like this is not something that has surprised the president, that he didn't know, that UDA people didn't know. But then you may be wondering, what about the conflicting statements we get from the likes of Orengo, or maybe Simbarati, Babu Owino, Sifuna? What's going on? If ODM and UDA are planning to work together, how come somebody as senior as Sifuna is opposing it openly? People who have been in ODM party for very long, like Orengo, and even a deputy party leader like Simbarati, is not very fond of this agreement. Well, I told you there are two things when it comes to the so-called conflict in ODM. Sifuna in a coalition between UDA and ODM has no space. And so he has to create one, because remember, Sifuna was favored here as a Luya candidate. Okay? And if Sakaja will be on the ballot endorsed by ODM, chances are that Sifuna does not get the same favor twice. Orengo, I have told you, is that kind of is one of the politicians, especially from Luo Nyanza, who depend on Raila being on the ballot so that they can say they are going to help Raila. They get elected. There was a time Orengo was elected senator without even campaigning. Why? Because he is helping Baba at the top. So people feel like they should be grateful, should reward him with positions. That is how he became governor anyway. Just being rewarded with position because he's been standing with Baba and helping Baba with one thing, with things at the top, fighting the enemies, especially maybe Kalenjin Kikuyu at that time. This time, Orengo is looking at a case where if Raila goes to AUC and there is a formal agreement between UDA, Kenya Kwanza, and ODM, then it doesn't favor him. He cannot say that he should be elected to go and help Ruto at the top. Nobody will listen. And considering he has a very formidable opponent in the person of Gumbo, and remember, if UDA and ODM have a formal agreement, then it wouldn't matter if Gumbo is vying on UDA ticket versus Orengo on ODM ticket. Nobody will care. They will be seen as part of the same coalition. The same thing that happened in Western. There are places that ODM would have automatically swept, but you would find that a candidate from DAP would still win, etc. Why? Because they were being seen as members of Azimio. So people didn't care so much about the party, but they cared about the leader. So that is what I think the likes of Orengo are looking at, that if there is nothing they can hang on, meaning if Raila is not on the ballot and UDA, Kenya Kwanza are working with ODM, then Orengo has to fight twice as hard to get re-elected. Not that he can't get re-elected, but it will not be as easy as he would be if Raila was on the ballot. The likes of Simbarati are falling maybe in the same category as Orengo, because Simbarati also is looking for re-election and would have really loved to see Raila on the ballot. He would use Raila's name to get re-elected somehow in Kisii. Whoever the Mount Kenya people will back against Sakaja will be a serious candidate, but chances are that whoever Raila and Ruto back in Nairobi will win the gubernatorial race. And in this case, it appears it is Sakaja. I don't think Ruto is going to come and say, no, Sakaja is no longer our candidate or we don't support him, something like that. I don't think so. That is what I wanted to share. But since I don't have monopoly of opinion, I want to hear from you. Do you think the endorsement of Sakaja by Raila is enough to get him re-elected? And also, what do you think that means in relevance to the relationship between ODM and UDA? Let me hear what you think in the comment section. And if you found value in this video, please like it and share it with a friend. Also, if you have not subscribed, just take a moment, subscribe to the channel so that you'll be notified whenever we produce similar videos. Otherwise, if you want to know what would happen if the race for the Nairobi gubernatorial seat was between Babu Owino and Governor Sakaja, watch this video.